All right, everybody, so this is actually my most recent free mower that I actually have gotten. This is a 1996 Murray 42-inch with a 14.5 classic IC Quiet Briggs engine on it, along with the John Deere that has not gotten fixed yet, and the Cub Cadet that still needs an engine. Don't worry, I'm not littering. I had that over there because I was actually underneath that Cub Cadet looking at some of the mounting bolts for the engine. That one over there, all 5 of these need repair, unfortunately. I don't know the severity of, like, this one, for example. I don't know what's wrong with this, but we'll get to that in a minute. So the Murray is, I got this for free yesterday. It looks like it's in really good shape. Got it from the original owner who bought it brand new in 1996. This is the IC Quiet version with the round muffler. Pretty cool. I can tell you by looking at it, that gasket is definitely leaking, and the valve cover gasket is leaking. When I put the key in this with a good battery, all I can hear is something click. The motor is free, it's not locked up, but I did try to cross or ground the starter, and I got it to crank a little bit, but it's cranking really weakly, so the valves probably need to be adjusted, and there is a really good chance from what I've seen so far that the compression release inside the cam is no longer working. Very good chance. That doesn't necessarily mean that the engine is toast, but I would say if I could clean it up and try to adjust the valves and try to jump it over one more time, I think I might be able to get it started, because I think we have a bad solenoid, because when I turn the key, it does nothing. Good battery. The starter is not seized, so I think our solenoid might also be bad, because the starter seems to be working okay. It's not in bad shape. I mean, they kept it in their garage most of its life, so the fact that this seat is in such good shape is quite shocking. I mean, I actually think this is a pretty nice looking seat. Built pretty well. Everything down here, like, it's got no holes. I mean, it's in good shape. Like, I would save this if this engine ends up being toast. I would not mind putting another engine on it and doing a muffler swap, because I don't think there's enough room to put a conventional muffler for this engine on it, so I would have to do a muffler swap possibly, which is fine. But yeah, it is definitely a pretty nice mower. Originally had some Pennzoil in it. There is a parts sticker right there if anybody needs it. I figured while I'm here, I'll go ahead and walk everybody through the rest of these mowers. There is a patch, and what I thought was funny is one of the deck wheels is on the back on this side. The other one is on the front on the other side. I thought that was kind of weird. I wonder if that's factory. It is hydrostatic, which is nice. Like I said, this is definitely a nice seat. I like it. I actually had put a new spark plug in it, and just because, to get the old one out of it, it was really messy. And did this fuel line as well, because it actually was broken, and a fuel filter. I figured, let me just go ahead and get a head start. I'm not giving up on this mower yet. Like I said, I'm going to try to adjust the valves and see if I can get it to turn over any better, because it's pretty sticky, if you know what I mean. So there is a good chance the compression release is not working, but that's okay. Front tires are actually holding air, even though they look terrible. Back tires look pretty good, though. Okay. So next up, I will talk about our T110. Our Craftsman T110, my mom was using it one day, and it literally stopped dead in its tracks. The engine shut off. It did not throw a rod, so before anybody says, did it throw a rod? It did not. I have it parked too close to the house. I can't really show you guys too much, but that is a Briggs single-cylinder overhead valve Intech motor, 17.5. It is not, you can tell because the shroud is more round on the Intech motors. On the old one, it is more square, like on the front, for example. This is the good overhead valve. That's the crappier overhead valve. I don't know. I don't think it's a carburetor issue. I don't know what happened to it, but I can start this mower if I spray fuel directly through the intake. So I don't know if it's like a carburetor issue or what, but I just find it hard to believe that the carburetor would have failed and it would have stopped it dead in its tracks. Really weird, because at the time when this quit, we were using this thing like every couple of weeks pretty heavily, so I don't think it would have been a carb issue. I just feel like it's something else. Not too sure. Other than the engine not starting, it's not locked up. It still has compression. It has spark, it has everything. It should, other than not being able to start. The deck, let me see. The spindles I think are okay, but the pulleys I think are okay, but both of these spindles are worn out. I think the center bearings are worn out because if I go underneath the mower and if I wiggle the blade, it actually like moves around, and I can see the center bearing and the spindle is actually moving. So I would say a new set of spindles or something if I ever get it running. For only being 4 years old, that's pretty sad. Next up, we have the John Deere LX277 that I got free with the Cub Cadet XT1. I'm going to pick that up. Don't worry, I'm not going to litter. I had it there for a reason. John Deere comes first. So this thing right now, I have no idea what it needs. I was told if I cleaned the carburetor and put a new battery in it, it would probably start and run only. It's going to need 2 front tires. It's going to need an expensive battery because it's like a car battery. This is not your conventional lawn and garden battery that usually connects with these types of terminals. It's this, which is like a car battery. So that already is going to be over $100, I reckon. It has a Kawasaki Twin 17, which looks not terrible, but it was way more messier before I had cleaned it. Little frog. Now, down, let me see if I can lower the deck. Alright, let's see. So, we have the drive belt. The belt with the tracks in it is the belt for the PTO clutch for the blade engagement. And then this belt right here is shredded, as you can see. This right here is the drive belt. So the drive belt does have to be replaced, and the PTO clutch belt looks like it's okay. Everything else down here, I guess, is okay. I don't know. It looks like a nightmare underneath here. Now, I do not know if you can see it, but the crankshaft does not have the drive pulley or the PTO clutch on it. When I got it, he gave me a brand new John Deere OEM PTO clutch because it needed to be replaced, and he thankfully also gave me the drive pulley with it. So those 2 pulleys have to be reinstalled. Hopefully that'll go well. It still needs 2 front tires. This one over here holds air. This one doesn't do anything. Take a guess why. Doesn't hold any air at all. But battery, 2 front tires, install the pulleys that I got with it, do a major tune-up. Maybe it'll need this new fuel pump thingy. I forget what that's called. It's like a little fuel sending unit. Probably is going to need a carburetor. I'll be completely honest, I think we can all agree that John Deere hoods are usually broken a lot of the time because they're stupid cheap plastic. I cannot believe that this one isn't broken. It's chipped literally up here where these screws have been put at. So like I said, it's going to need a good amount of work for sure. If I could put a good battery in it and maybe spray fuel through the intake, then maybe I can see it start. Like I said, I'm not going to do any work to this thing unless I see it run first, because it's going to need more money put into it. A lot more than I probably don't want to put in it yet, especially if I don't know it's not guaranteed to run. So like I said, I don't know what I'm going to do with this one yet. I will definitely update everybody as I fix this. It would probably need a new seat or at least reseal it because it doesn't look bad. It's just come off the back padding. More frogs. Another thing I was going to say is the trans oil tank. I'm not going to try to get that off. It's super hard to get off for some reason. The trans oil tank for the rear differential was actually completely empty when I got it. So I have no idea if it just evaporated somehow or if the tank has a leak. I have no idea. I don't even know if the diff is leaking. Hopefully the transmission isn't, hopefully the transaxle isn't, shot. If nobody knew, this is actually the 4-wheel steer model, which is, again, another fancy, crazy thing that's just something else that's bound to break. Enough talk about this. It has cruise control, hydrostatic, and the parking brake. All the pedals are on the same side. Again, no idea what's going to happen to this yet. Like I said, it's not extremely promising, but like I said, if anything happens to it, I'll let you guys know for sure. Next up, we have the mower that is definitely going to be mowing grass again someday. The only thing that this thing needs is one word: engine. This is the terribly, like, it's known by people, it's known by everybody for being a terrible engine. I mean, look, I'm not the only one who's going to say this engine sucks. Everybody knows. The Kohler Courage single cylinder. I do not know if the Kohler Courage twin is any good, but I know the Kohler Courage single is not good. This is a Kohler Courage 18. I cleaned it up a little bit, but it does have a hole in the back. It will start and run if I put a battery in it, but I'm not going to do that, obviously. I mean, like, if I actually took the carburetor off of this and put it on this mower, because this is a Kohler Courage 19 with an open exhaust. It used to run, but it quit running because I think the carburetor had failed in it. So we'll get to this in a minute. But this one right here, if I put like a good carburetor back on it, because I don't think the carburetor that came off of this was good, but if I put a carb on this and put a battery back in it, I might try to blow the motor on this, because if I were to start it up and put it at full throttle, it will probably blow itself up, because it's just going to pour more and more oil out the back. And if I take the dipstick out, there is oil on it. I mean, there is little metal shavings, so she's definitely ready to go. I have no idea how that happened, but it did. So like I said, new engine, this thing should be perfectly fine, because everywhere else it looks like it's a really nice mower. I like the fact how it's a 42. It actually has 4 deck wheels on it. LT 42 XT1 Enduro. So there's that. Next up, we have the mower that has been out of service for more than a year. This is our Craftsman YT3000 that we actually used to use a lot when our Poland Pro tractor had the broken deck. This thing has a Kohler Courage 19, and it used to have a Briggs & Stratton 21 single intake overhead valve engine. It had that originally. It's no longer on here, obviously. We have taken good care of this, but the reason why we're not using it is because one of the drag links is broken for the steering. It's just laying right here. It's supposed to go right there. So this wheel is banked hard to the right. And, oh wait, to make sure you believe me, yes, I'm wearing my Converse right now. This one is straight. This one is still curved. Other than that, needing a battery and a carburetor, it should be fine. This one's more dirty. It's sat for, at this point, it's sat for over a year. But if I were to put a carburetor on this and a battery, the engine should run. It does have a open exhaust. As you can see, it's all cracked down here. And I do think the valve cover gasket does leak a little bit, but it's not terrible. It's never ever smoked that badly. So my plan is I know the drag links are not the easiest thing to replace, and I'm not entirely sure how I'm going to change them yet. But if I take the engine off of this and put it on the Cub Cadet, I will probably try to fix the drag link once I take the engine off, because it's probably going to be easier to work around it back there. When I take the engine off, I'm also going to do a muffler swap, because the one on the Cub Cadet is pretty much got the same adapter. So it should work just fine. This Courage is from 2005, and it still runs. And I think it runs just fine, actually. When it runs, if I were to put a carburetor on it, put fuel in it, and put a new battery in it, it should run perfectly fine. It's just going to run really loud because of the muffler. If I were to replace the valve cover gasket, that'd be better. But, I mean, things we've done in the past, like getting close to 2 years ago, was air filter, pre-filter, oil change was done, 1 new fuel line, and a filter and a spark plug. I mean, we've kept up with maintenance. We never did abuse it, so it should be a perfectly fine motor. Other than needing the drag link fixed and a couple small things, this mower should go again. But since the drag links are usually kind of hard to replace anyway, I might just do a motor swap and put it on the Cub Cadet and eventually fix that steering and then put another engine on this, because this mower is still perfectly fine. It has 4 deck wheels, and it's a big 46. It has the hydrostatic where you use the shifter handle right here instead of pedals. So yeah. Also, my personal opinion, I do not like PTO clutches for blade engagement. I like manual because they're easier to replace. I think the cables are just easier to replace versus having to deal with a PTO. I don't know. That's just my personal opinion. I just think manual is better. So we did put 2 new front tires, a deck belt, blades. We've done a lot of stuff before. Not entirely sure why that trailer hitch is not aligned, and this tire is completely flat. Oh, wait a second. Oh, okay, so the sidewalls are completely cracked, and I just pretty much made it more flat. All right, so that is the only tire that does not hold air, because this one over here seems to be fine. Okay, so like I said, I will probably take the engine off of this, put it in this, get a new carburetor for it, put a battery in this. This thing should be good to go. I unfortunately lost my impact drill, so I'm not going to be able to take off the crankshaft pulley bolt. I will have to look for it, but hopefully I can find it. I will say one other thing. The steering is not perfectly aligned on this. If you can see it, this one's bent a little bit more this way. Not a big deal. That's not a huge concern, but that is just something I've noticed. Am I going to try to blow the engine on this Cub Cadet? Probably. I might. Not totally sure yet. The longest I have ran this thing was about 20 to 25 seconds at idle, and it didn't blow. But if I were to get it running again, I bet it would probably go. Like, it would probably blow up, because it can only run so much with that hole in the back of the motor. So like I said, back to my original mower that I got for free just yesterday. I am not entirely sure what I'm going to do with this yet. It seems to be in really good shape for being as old as it is. I will try to do a valve adjustment on it, and I'm going to start with that only, because if I can get this engine running, knowing that it'll work, then I'll go ahead and do more stuff to it, like the valve cover gasket, that gasket down there for the dipstick, other things, because the deck should be ready to go. I was originally told that this mower could run if you just put a battery on it. Clearly that did not work. I was told that when it runs, it does smoke, as in, he told me that either the piston rings are worn on it or it could be a valve issue. Like I said, I don't know. I haven't seen it run yet. So hopefully I can put those valves in spec, because they were probably never adjusted. And like I said, hopefully I can get something going with this, because this is a nice little mower. And if that engine is toast, I will try to find the exact same engine. Who knows, maybe I can find a 16.5, same, like, you know, IC classic engine, and just do a muffler swap. And then this will be a good mower. I would probably just keep the front tires on there, because, I mean, they seem to be holding air just fine. They're just bald. I'm more worried about the rear tires, and they're actually in great shape. So like I said, this is a cool classic. I cannot promise that it's going to get saved 100%, but I do plan on doing something with it. So, and it's not going to be junking it. So that's what I was going to say. That's our 5 non-running lawnmowers. There you go. Thanks for watching.